everybody, and welcome to First Christian Church of Winter Park. We're glad that you're here, glad that you're there, and we're happy to be live streaming this morning. We're going to start with some praise and worship. Open up the heavens.
Calling out to you. Your name means more than I could know. You're so far above me, the way that you love me goes further than any love can go. Your name is precious, it's your name is priceless. Your name is more than I could know. You're so far above me, the way that you love me goes further than any love can go.
We're going to prepare for our time of communion now by singing Amazing Grace, My Chains Are Gone. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me. And like a flood, His mercy reigns. Unending love, amazing grace. The Lord has promised good to me. His word, my hope, secures. He will my shield and portion as long as life endures. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me. And like a flood, His mercy reigns. Unending love, amazing grace. My chains are gone, I've been set free. My God, my Savior has ransomed me. And like a flood, His mercy reigns. Unending the earth shall soon dissolve like snow. The sun forbear to shine, but God who called me here below will be forever mine, will be forever mine. You are last few weeks have been a whirlwind for me. As learning this live streaming thing, I know I talked about that last week at the end. One of the things that my family has done over the last couple of weeks since we did these live streams is we've started watching it back at night. We actually watch all of the streams that we're involved in because my two girls are involved with the recording at Kissimmee Christian Church, and then Abigail leads at Adventure Christian Church. And so we sit down on Sunday night and we watch all three of the streams that we're involved in. And really the point of that for me is to try and find ways to make it better. Whether it's learning from what other people are doing or fine-tuning what we're doing here. So when we watched it back, the first thing I noticed was everything looked washed out and really bad because we weren't using a very good camera. And so that very next week we bought a really nice camera, and you're actually getting to see that right now. So when we watched back the service last week, the first thing I noticed at this very point right now was how bushy my beard is. And you can probably see it right now in high definition. You can see all the hairs are like sticking out in different, and I was like, I gotta fix that. But I left it this week because I wanted to use it as an object lesson. But next week you're gonna see some changes, I think, in this. But you know, it's just that high definition camera can look and can see every pore and every hair, and it highlights it, it magnifies it. So when I watched that back last week, the very first thing I thought was, I'm using that as communion meditation this coming week, because in Proverbs chapter 5, the writer says, the Lord sees everything you do, and he watches where you go. An evil man will be caught in his wicked ways. The ropes of his sins will tie him up. He will die because he does not control himself, and he will be held captive by his foolishness. All of us know that God can see into the depths of our heart, the depths of our soul. He knows the sins that we commit. He knows the things that we're holding on to, the things that are holding us captive. So right now, as we meet around the Lord's table, it's time for us to search with that kind of focus on ourselves and to get rid of that stuff. So as you hold the bread and you hold the juice right now, and as you think about the death of Jesus and the blood that covers those sins, think about what can you do to free yourself from those chains, from those ropes that hold you down with God. Take a few minutes and think about that, and then we'll come back together. Father in heaven, we know that you can see into the depths of our soul. We know that you look there all the time, and that your gaze misses nothing. So God, those things that we think we're keeping hidden, we want to give those to you right now. We don't want those to be in there as a distraction for ourselves and our relationship with you. And so we turn them over to you, God, and we ask that you would cast them into the deepest parts of the sea. We're giving them over to you. We want to be free from these shackles, free from these chains, free from these ropes that imprison us. And we want to be in a relationship without any encumbrance, a relationship with you, knowing that it's open and honest, because we know that's what you want. We thank you so much for Jesus. We thank you for his sacrifice. We will never forget, we will never take it for granted how much he loves us, and we reflect that love right back to you right now, God. We thank you so much for all you do for us every single day. And we love you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Good morning.
It's easy.
It is
Simply
so
visit
great.
fccwp.com/gift from your mobile device, tablet, or desktop computer. Scroll down to the giving section and pick a fund to give to. Then enter the amount you want to gift and scroll down some more so you can enter your payment information. After you're done with that, you can enter your billing information and then simply click submit. Then you are done. However, if you would like to make a recurring gift, simply check the Make This Gift Recurring box and sign in or create an account. Now you can choose the frequency of your giving. You can set it to monthly, weekly, whenever you want. And then you will be able to set a date for your payment to be processed. Once again, enter the payment and billing information below, then click submit and you are done. We hope this makes it easy to understand, and please reach out to us with any questions or concerns at info@fccwp.com. Have a blessed day, everyone.
Good morning. It is so great to be with you on this Palm Sunday. Thank you for joining us online, whether you're in your living room, whether you're at home, maybe you're out on a jog, watching it on your iPhone. We're so good to just be with you today. I want you to know that we are praying for you, and even though we can't physically be together, we are all united together as part of the body of Christ, and that is the reason that we are live streaming this morning, and so excited to spend this Passion Week with you. As we look forward to next weekend, I want you to know about a couple of really cool things that are going to happen. First of all, on Friday night, we are going to have a special Good Friday service at 7 p.m. So we'd love for you to join us on Facebook, on our YouTube channel, but we're so excited to join with you Friday night, 7 p.m. for a Good Friday service. And then on Sunday, we are going to have 2 live streaming services. At 8:30 a.m., we're going to have a traditional service, and at 11 a.m., we're going to have a contemporary service. Both will have the same Easter message, and we look forward to having the opportunity to celebrate the resurrection of Jesus Christ with our church family. And although this Easter will probably look different than any Easter before and any Easter after, we just want you to know that this is a great opportunity for you to invite friends to join us on Easter this weekend. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not asking you to have them come over to your house. You got to stay 6 feet away and all that, you know. But we want you to send out our links, send out our live stream. Let your friends, your coworkers, your neighbors, your relatives all over the world know that they can join you for Easter this weekend. And it's probably the easiest opportunity for people to do that than ever before. They don't have to physically come to church, but they can sit on their couch, eat their breakfast while they're watching us and celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ together. And that's what this week is about, and that's what next weekend is about, and that's what the church is about. So we're so glad to be coming to you today. We love you. If you need anything, please let us know.
have come across that flyer that says, "So far today, God, I'm doing okay. You know, I haven't gossiped, haven't lost my temper, I haven't been grumpy or selfish or nasty. I'm really glad of that. But God, in a few minutes, I'm going to get out of bed, and then from then on, I'm going to need some help." I don't know if you feel that way, but we all need help, especially in this area that we're going to be talking about this morning. We're talking about the subject of worry and how to have less of it in our lives. And I think it's probably an appropriate time or subject to look at this morning, don't you? In light of what our world is facing right now in our country, our church. A lot of people are worried, anxious, of course, about this virus. We're anxious about the stability of our economy. We're anxious about we're going to get back to work. We're anxious when our children are going to get back to school. We're anxious about when we get back to church. We're worried about our family. What if they catch this virus? What's that going to mean for them and our family? The great comedian Carl Hurley tells about the time he tried to throw away a trash can. I don't know if you ever done that. He said, that's the one thing you can't get the garbage guy to actually throw away is an old trash can. He said, I set this old trash can beside my other ones, figured he would understand, hey, this one needs to be thrown away. It's in rough shape, right? So he came back that afternoon and said, nope, it was sitting there right with all my other trash cans and had not been discarded. So he said, next week I turned that trash can upside down, and so everybody could, the garbage guys could look and see there's a bunch of holes in this thing. We need to throw this thing away. He said, but I came back the next week, and there it was, stacked up right with the other ones, upright. He said the next week, what I did is I took a sledgehammer and I beat that trash can pretty good, and so it would be obvious, hey, you need to throw this trash can away. He said when I got back, not only was it stacked up next to the other trash cans, but he said the trash guy actually beat that thing back into shape, and it was standing up with all the other ones. He said, finally I did the only thing I could do. I went to the hardware store, bought a big heavy-duty chain and a padlock, and I chained that thing to the tree in my front yard, and the next night somebody stole it. It was gone. Well, I think worry is a lot like that trash can, isn't it? We know, man, we need to get rid of it, but it's not easy to accomplish, not easy to do. But one of the worst things about worry is not just that we have it in our lives, but how we respond to it, right? When we worry, about the latest setback, when we receive notice that our job's going to be put on furlough, or maybe just other worries, when our children get sick, when the bank forecloses, when our spouse leaves, when there is this worldwide pandemic, when all these things happen, usually, by the way, who is it that gets the blame? Unfortunately, a lot of times it's God. Ironically, the only one who can offer the cure for our hurt and worry. But I don't think worry is the same as concern. Concern says, okay, this is an issue, and I'm going to deal with it, and with God's help, He's going to help me make it through, right? Worry's different. Worry says, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how I'm going to get through. I just don't know. And worry, anxiety, think about it. In normal times, it's bad enough, right? But then you throw into this thing that's happening right now, and it is this huge, ginormous problem, not just in the world, but I'm talking about even in the church with God's people. It's been assumed that I don't think that's the case. I don't think He ever intended for us to live with such worry and anxiety. And that's not the life that He's called you or me to live out. Let me give you some good reasons real quickly why not to worry. Reasons not to worry. The first reason not to worry, it destroys your health. It destroys your health. It's no secret that worry can do a number on your health. And the Bible calls our bodies the temple of God. Therefore, we want to do our best to take care of these bodies that God's given us. I found that out personally several years ago. I was in my mid-20s, and I was going through a particular stressful time in ministry. And I allowed that stress and anxiety to get the best of me. Couldn't sleep at night, tossing, turning. And one morning I woke up and I looked in the mirror and my face seemed strange. Now listen, I know a lot of you are going, yeah, tell us something different, Preston. But I'm telling you, something wasn't right and it was obvious. And so I go to the ER and it turns out I had Bell's palsy. I don't know if you know what Bell's palsy is. That's where one side of your face is paralyzed. Almost looks like you had a stroke. I was just in my mid-20s. Now, a lot of times it's temporary. It goes away after a couple months, and thankfully that was the case with me. It eventually went away. But I tell you what, I learned a valuable lesson. That day on, I will not let stress in ministry or in life get to the point where it diminishes my health. It's not just Bell's palsy. Think about it. Stress can do a number of things to your body. Give you headaches and backaches, ulcers, insomnia. It is not natural. The old English word for worry means to choke or to strangle. That's a good word picture in it as far as what worry can do to our lives. Listen, worry can choke or strangle the life out of if you're not careful. So that's one reason not to worry. It destroys your health. Another reason not to worry is it diminishes your effectiveness. It really takes away your effectiveness. When historian and satirist Thomas Carlyle lived in London, he had this neighbor who owned some chickens and a rooster, and that rooster disturbed Carl's sleep by its loud crowing. And when Carlyle complained to his neighbor, the neighbor protested. He said, listen, you got nothing to complain about. He only crows 4 times a night. And Carlyle said, well, that may be, but if you only knew how I suffered waiting for him to crow. That's the way worry is, right? Problem is we anticipate so much negative that it ends up destroying our peace, diminishes our effectiveness. Montaigne, the philosopher, said, my terrible misfortune, most of which has never happened. It's so true. Most of what we worry about never happens. A lot of our concerns of the past, we can't change anyway. I know you've been watching these news conferences that have been put on by the president and our government officials, and and they'll show these charts, and what's eye-popping to me is they show these worst-case scenarios, right? And it's really kind of scary. And I get it, we need to see the big picture, what could possibly happen. But I'm going to tell you what, that's what I do a lot of times in my mind, just in life. I go to this worst-case scenario, right? And I think, oh boy, and yet a lot of these things will never pan out. Worry can destroy your health. It can diminish your effectiveness. And thirdly, it divides your commitment to God. It can divide your commitment to God. And I think that's the most important reason to overcome worry, this habit of worry, because the Bible calls it a sin. When we worry, we violate one of the very commandments that God has given us in His Word. Paul said in Philippians 4:6, he says, listen, do not be anxious about anything. That's a command. And Jesus said in Matthew 6:25, he said, do not worry. Do not worry. Worry is a sin because when we worry, we refuse to put our faith in God. Worry, in essence, think about it. It's simply, basically, when we worry, we're calling God a liar. But God promises, Preston, I'll be with you always to the very end of the age. And when I worry, I think, no, God's not really going to be with me here in this difficult situation. God promises, you know what, in all things, I'll work together for the good of those who love Him. But worry says, no, I don't think so. I don't think this is going to work out in my case. God promises that we can do all things, or we can endure all things through Christ who gives us the strength. And yet worry says, no, I don't think I can endure this tough time right now. In all practicality, as one writer put it, worry is assuming responsibility that God never intended me to have. Worry, in essence, is where I play God and I'm trying to control or take on things beyond my ability to control. When we worry, we are simply refusing to put our faith, our trust in God, and therefore we're breaking one of his commandments. And the good news is, in times of worry and anxiety, God has some wonderful promises for us. He has some really incredible assurances for the anxious. And that's what I would look at these assurances. Number one assurance is the presence of a compassionate friend. The presence of a compassionate friend. In 1 Peter 5:7, Peter says, hey, cast all your anxiety, all those cares upon him because he cares for you. That word cast means to set it aside. It's kind of like when you go to the airport and dropping off your luggage. Just drop it off. But who do we drop it off on? He says we drop it off on him. Why? Because he says he cares for us. He does. I don't think it means our worry just go away magically, but it means we give them to Jesus and he helps us with these burdens. Jackie Robinson was the first black Major League Baseball player in baseball, and he had a rough go of it. I mean, everywhere he went, there were racial slurs hurled at him, high spikes trying to, hurt him as they slid into second base. The crowds would jeer at him and curse him from other dugouts, from the stands. One day he was playing in his home field in Brooklyn there, and he made several critical errors. And the crowd let him have it. I mean, they were booing him and jeering him. And during the break in the action, Robinson just kind of stood over there at second base, just head down in humiliation. Everybody's booing him. And all of a sudden, his shortstop, Pee Wee Reese, came over and put his arm around his shoulder until all the boos subsided. And that arm around the shoulder was way more eloquent than any speech that could have been given that day. And Jackie Robinson said, that arm around my shoulder right there by that good friend, I'm telling you, it saved my... And the Bible reminds us we don't face these difficult days by ourselves. No, we have the presence of a compassionate friend who says, listen, let me comfort you. Let me give you strength. You cast these cares on me. Listen, because I care for you, church. I care for you, world. You weren't made to carry these by yourself. Drop them off. So we have the presence of a compassionate friend. We also have provisions. Here's another assurance. Provisions one day at a time. One day at a time. There are a lot of times when we worry about things that might happen tomorrow, right? Or we worry about things that might happen next week, or we worry about things that might happen way off in the future. We worry, what if our car breaks down next week? What if we get into an accident? What if my house burns down? What if I'm, with all this stuff going on now, what if I'm not prepared for retirement? What if the economy doesn't come back? On top of that, what if a hurricane hits this summer? Oh. And yet Jesus said in Matthew 6:34, he says, listen, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, right? For tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own, amen? God will take care of tomorrow. He said, you just trust me for today. Don't open your umbrella until it starts to rain. When you worry, you don't change yesterday. You can't control tomorrow. And what you end up doing, you mess up today by worrying. And I know sometimes the future can seem overwhelming, especially what's going on now. And therefore, you trust God in these small little bites, in these small little increments. Live for Him right now today. For the next hour, just focus on that. Remember how Jesus prayed in the Sermon on the Mount? He said, give us today our daily bread. Overcoming worry, it's like a day-by-day choice. You wake up every morning, God, I'm going to trust you today. There's no pill to help you stop worrying. There's no seminar, no book that's going to help you stop worrying. God's antidote for worry is you. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus talks about worry in Matthew 6, where he talks about, therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. He says, is life not more important than food? And the body more important than clothes? And he said, you just look at nature. You look at the birds of the air, and they do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. And then he says, are you not much more valuable than they? And then he says, why do you worry about clothes? Look at the flowers of the field. Again, look at nature, how they grow. They do not labor or spin. And I tell you that not even Solomon, all his splendor, was dressed like one of them. If that's how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and then it's gone tomorrow, will he not much more clothe you, O ye of little faith or trust? And finally, he goes on to say, you seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. And all these other things he's going to take care of. Listen, of anybody else in this world, Jesus understood people. And even though these words are 2,000 years old, I think that advice is still so relevant and practical. Food and clothing and shelter, those are the things we still afraid of. Those things we line up, at Costco for an hour to get into. The simplest things, what I will wear. Is this dressing style? My shirts have the right labels on them. And maybe today your worries are more serious than that. You worry, just simply other worries in life. Will that cancer come back? You worry about your child getting this divorce. Your financial stability. I'm going to tell you what, worry doesn't change any of those things. Jesus said, who of you by worrying can add a single hour to your life? You can't do it. Let me give you 4 questions that you can maybe take this week and ask yourself as you struggle with worry, as we all do. We're all in the same boat. To focus not on your worries, but focus on God. Here's 4 questions you can ask yourself. Number 1, have I prayed about this? Paul said, I pray about everything. We used to sing this song growing up. It said, oh, what peace we often forfeit. Oh, what needless pain we bear because we do not carry everything to Him, everything to God in prayer. Number 1, have I prayed about it? Number 2, do I believe what I say I believe? Really? It's a check to ourselves. Martin Luther, the great reformer of the 1500s, one particular time in his life, he was really depressed and he was moping around the house. And after several days of this, feeling sorry for himself, his wife went down for breakfast to serve him, and she was wearing all black. He said, who died? She said, God did. He said, that's ridiculous. She says, well then why don't you act like it? Listen, let me ask you, do you believe there's a God in heaven? Who's an all-powerful God, He's an all-good God, and He's promised, I'll take care of all these things, food and clothing and shelter. Then you know what? I need to act like it. We need to act like it, don't we? Have I prayed about it? Do I believe what I say I believe? Can I, number 3, survive the worst possible scenario in God's help? I mean, you think about the worst thing that can happen to you. Maybe it's this whole thing that's going on now. Can you handle it with God's help? God's promised to be with you, to strengthen you through His Spirit, through His Word, through His people, that you can face those tough times and not have a pity party, not feel sorry. You are not a victim, church. You are not a victim. And number 4, 100 years from now, what will it matter? Right? I mean, 100 years from now, you are going to be with the Lord. You're going to be in glory. You're going to be in heaven. And the problems that seem so ginormous, right, folks, they will seem so tiny compared to glory. Paul said, I consider that our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. So ask yourself those questions this week. Let me give you the last assurance. It's not just the presence of a compassionate friend or provisions one day at a time, but it's also this peace that passes all understanding. All understanding. When we make that decision to let God provide, He not only frees us from worry, but He also gives us this peace that transcends all understanding. You think about it in the Bible. If anybody knew to a church in Philippi while he was in a Roman prison undergoing some horrific things at the time, And he said, you know what, guys, I've learned to be content whatever in any situation. And he made that famous statement, that famous verse there in verse 13, I can't be anxious. Don't be worried about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, verse 7, which transcends, it goes beyond our understanding of things sometimes. He said, well, guard Jesus. You see this in these verses? Paul was giving us a prescription for overcoming worry. He said, number one, you just make a choice. You're not going to worry. You get up in the morning, God says, don't be anxious. I'm going to obey you and trust you. I'm not going to let it consume me. Number two, you pray about everything. You tell God about it. Don't try to control this on your own. You give those troubles to only one who can do something about them. Psalm 55:22 says, cast our cares on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will never let the righteous fall. And thirdly, you pray with thanksgiving. One of the best life. In his book, The Prayer of Jabez, Bruce Wilkinson tells about his preschooler David going to the park one day. And when he got to the park, he was watching these kids, the bigger kids, big ladder to go down this slide. And for him, it was pretty intimidating. But he made the effort. He started climbing up the ladder, and about a third of the way up, he froze. He's kind of like, oh boy. And so Wilkerson, his dad, runs over there and says, and by the way, all the kids, the bigger kids are going, God, I can't do it, Dad. Shaking with fear, he says, I need your help. Will you go down with me? Wilkerson said, I climbed up the ladder with my son into the clouds, it almost seemed like, and I put my arm around him, I put my legs around him. We went zipping down that slide, laughing all the way. Isn't that what prayer is? It's simply saying, God, this is too big for me. I can't do this by myself. God, will you do this with me? So I'll tell you what, this morning I want to spend a little bit of time in prayer as God's people, as a church. And so here's number one, what I want you to do. I want you to drop it off. I want you to unload it. Because a lot of you, you're keeping it in. And guys, we do this really good. But I want you to just tell God right now. You tell God those worries. You tell Him those concerns. And I'm going to give you a few minutes just to do that. Sometimes we've maybe not done that this week. You do that right now. I'm going to give you just a little time to do that. Secondly, would you pray a prayer of thanksgiving? You can be thankful for right now. Just one or two things, you focus on that. I'm going to let you pray that prayer of thanksgiving right now. We're going to sing a song of invitation. And I know you can't walk down this aisle right here physically, but listen, if you have a need, you need prayer, please reach out to the leadership here. You call us, you email us. If you have a decision that you need to be baptized into Christ, you've never done that. If you have a friend who's asking about that, please let us know. But all of us this week, let me encourage you, unload it. You lay it on Him because He cares for us.
Moving in nothing, I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, thy God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, thy God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning life around. I worship you. I worship you.
I don't know, there are some things, some commands of God that are easier to obey than others. And I think there are some that are easier to obey for certain people than for others. And for me, I'm just going to say it right now. The command of do not worry has never been a problem for me. And I'm not saying that to brag, okay? If you do worry, hey, that's your thing. I have other stuff that I wrestle with, right? And that's the whole point that Jesus was making. We don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. We don't know what's going to happen over the course of the next 2 weeks. It doesn't happen until April 19th. So why should I be worried now? But even then, even if I do get furloughed from Disney, and that could happen because my job is not very essential. If that happens, I'm going to be worried even then. Because I know that my God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. And he is going to take care. Psalm 27. I should have had this ready. Sorry, I didn't. Psalm 27 says, "The Lord is my light and salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the defense of my life. Whom shall I dread? When evildoers came upon me to devour my flesh, my adversaries and my enemies, they stumbled and fell. Though a host encamp against me, my heart not fear. The war rise against me. In spite of this, I shall be confident." So it's just encouragement. I'm encouraging you because I can speak from a place of strength, knowing that I don't struggle with worry. I'm telling you, you don't need to. You don't need to worry. You have a family that's going to take care of you, and you have a God that is always in control. You have a God who there's no one like him. You cannot compare. So as you go out this week, just remember, rely on him, rely on each other. We're all there for each other. We serve a matchless God. Let's sing about that, and we'll be dismissed.